Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever wondered how big tech companies manage literally thousands of servers without everything just falling apart? Well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to dive into Ansible, the automation engine that brought some serious order to the world of IT. So let's get into it.
But before we jump into the solution, we've got to talk about the problem. And it's a problem that every sysadmin out there knows deep in their bones. Think about it. Logging into every single machine by hand to install software, tweak files, apply updates, it's just so slow. And worse, it's super easy to make a mistake. A tiny typo can bring a whole system down. And trying to do that across hundreds or even thousands of servers? No way, it just doesn't scale.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at that big problem I just mentioned, the Snowflake server problem. Then, we'll introduce Ansible as the automation engine that fixes it. After that, we'll peek under the hood to see how it works. And finally, we'll see why it's such a game changer for DevOps.
All right, Section 1. Let's really dig into this old way of doing things. That time when every server was, well, special.
So, this whole manual process, it created something we call Snowflake servers. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Just like real snowflakes, no two of these servers were ever exactly the same. Each one was this unique, fragile thing, and a total nightmare to rebuild if it ever crashed, mostly because the exact setup was never written down anywhere.
And if Snowflake servers weren't bad enough, they led to an even bigger headache, configuration drift. See, even if you started with two identical servers, over time, as people made little manual changes here and there, they'd slowly, drift apart. And this is where the real chaos begins. You get these bizarre bugs and random failures that are almost impossible to track down, all because two servers that should be the same aren't. And this is a key point, something Jeff Geerling really nails in his book, Ansible for DevOps. He says, basically, as data centers got bigger and our apps got more complex, this whole manual approach just completely broke down. You just can't manage 1,000 servers the same way you manage 10. It was time for a totally new way of thinking.
Okay, so that was the problem. Now let's talk about the solution that brought some sanity back to all this complexity. It's time to introduce the star of our show, Ansible.
So what is Ansible? Well, think of it like this. It was designed to manage huge fleets of servers, but not as a bunch of individuals doing their own thing. Nope. It treats them like a perfectly coordinated orchestra. It's this one powerful tool that can handle pretty much everything, from setting up a brand new server to deploying a really complex application.
So what makes Ansible so different from everything that came before it? Well, it all comes down to a few core ideas, really. First, it's simple. It uses this language called YAML that's actually readable by humans. But the big one, the real game changer, is that it's agentless. This is huge! It means you don't have to install and manage some extra piece of software on every single server you want to control. That was a major pain with older tools. Instead, Ansible just talks to your servers using SSH, the same secure tool admins have been using for decades.
And this is what it looks like in practice. This is an Ansible playbook, which is basically just a simple to-do list for your servers. And just look at it. You don't need to be a coding genius to figure this out, right? It says, hey, for my web servers, that's the host part, I have a task. Make sure the Nginx web server is installed and up to date. That's it. It's just a plain English, super clear way to describe how your system should look. And that simplicity, that's its superpower.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does Ansible actually do all this stuff without installing anything on the servers it manages? It kind of sounds like magic, right? Well, let's pull back the curtain and see how it works.
It really all boils down to this super simple, agentless setup. You have one main computer, what we call the control node. That's where you have Ansible installed. And from that one spot, it reaches out to all your other servers, the managed nodes, using plain old SSH. It just pushes out the instructions, no agents, no background services, no extra mess to worry about.
Now here's a term that sounds a little fancy, but it's an incredibly important concept. Idempotence. This is a core principle that Ansible is built on, and honestly, it's the secret sauce to its reliability.
So what the heck does idempotence actually mean for you? Let's go back to that playbook we saw earlier, the one for installing Nginx. The very first time you run it, Ansible checks, sees Nginx isn't there, and installs it. Great. But what happens if you run that exact same playbook again? Well, this time, Ansible checks, sees Nginx is already installed, and does nothing. It only makes a change if things aren't the way your playbook says they should be. You could run it 100 times and it won't break anything. This is what guarantees your servers stay consistent every single time.
And that right there, that reliability and consistency brings us to our final section, why Ansible is an absolutely essential tool in the world of modern software development, or as you probably know it, DevOps.
Okay, so think about how software gets made today. A developer writes some code and commits it. Right away, an automated system kicks in to build and test it. And then what? Well, that's where Ansible comes in. It takes over and deploys that new code out to all the live servers, reliably and consistently. It's the critical bridge between writing the code and getting it into the hands of your users.
And this opens up a whole world of automation for teams. I mean, you can use Ansible for everything. Need to build a whole new server environment from scratch? Done. Want to enforce the exact same configuration everywhere to finally kill those snowflake servers? Easy. How about rolling out a new version of your app with zero downtime? Yep, Ansible handles that. You can even use it to apply security patches across your entire fleet in just minutes. It's a total game changer.
And a picture like this really shows what we're talking about. Modern applications are complicated, right? You've got load balancers, web servers, databases, all these different pieces that have to work together perfectly. Ansible is the conductor for this whole orchestra, making sure every single component is configured exactly right and that they're all playing in harmony.
So if you walk away with just 3 things about Ansible, let it be these. It's simple. The playbooks are written in plain English. It's powerful. It can manage even the most complicated setups. And maybe most importantly, it's agentless, which makes it super secure and incredibly easy to get up and running. I want to leave you with this quote, which is just perfect. It's from Yoda, of course, but it's also a favorite of Jeff Geerling. Do or do not. There is no try. And that really is the spirit of Ansible. You don't try to set up a server. You write a playbook that declares how it should be. And Ansible makes it so every single time. And that is the real power of automation. It's not just about managing servers, it's about mastering complexity.